Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today's video is going to be a scouting report on Emiliano Buendia. Before we get into that though, if you could just hit that button down below, that would massively help me out because we're trying to hit 9k. We're not too far off that now. But like I said, we're talking about Emiliano Buendia today. The only real kind of link that we've had to signing a number 10 this season. And of course, there's those connections with Daniel Farke in the past. And recently, Buendia did actually go on a Norwich podcast and talk about his time at Norwich and the connection that he had with Daniel Farke, which hinted at a potential arrangement where he might want to go and work for Daniel Farke again. So as we look at him today, you can see on the screen now, he's 28 years old, so still in the prime of his career, or hopefully to kind of revitalize that prime we would be able to do. He's 5'8", and he is an attacking midfielder who can play out on the left wing and the right wing as well, but primarily that number 10 role is what we'd be signing him for. A value of around £18 million, or a price, should I say, of around £18 million is what Aston Villa would be looking for. The kind of strapline for him is he's a creative 10 with previous experience under Daniel Farke at Norwich. When we talk about the star rating system that we do on this channel now, his value then, so how much is he worth priced against what they're asking for? I've given him a 4-star value because I think if you get the best out of Emiliano Buendia, around 15 to 18 million pounds is a steal. And I think whilst it's not the bargain of the century, I think it will be very good value for money. So that's why I've given him 4-star on that front. System, 5-star for obvious reasons. He played his best football under Daniel Farke at Norwich, and Daniel Farke got the best out of him. And I do think that whilst he has had a decent career since then when moving to Aston Villa and to Leverkusen as well on loan last season, there is potential that being in the right system really, really helps Buendia out. And playing in a Daniel Farke system that we've seen before really helps him out with better players than what he was surrounded by at Norwich. There's a real potential to revitalise his career here. When we're talking about potential, though, I have only given him 3-star. Now, the reason for that is he's already 28 years old. We kind of know what he's all about. There's no kind of extra ceiling that we're talking about here in terms of the way that he could grow as a player. But I do think that he's certainly got the ability to grow back into the player he was and beyond that. So that's why I've still given him that 3-star potential, where I still think he could be a very, very important player for Leeds. So when we talk about the actual type of player he is, I kind of alluded to it before that he can play out on the left and play out on the right as well, but primarily is an attacking midfielder who likes to link up the play. We've got some clips later on in the video and analysing the way that he played, one for Norwich, one for Villa and one for Leverkusen, to try and give you an idea of the last kind of few clubs of his career and the way he is able to play for them. When we look into his statistics, it'll give us a better idea of the kind of player he is. Now, in previous seasons, his statistics would have been better than this, but we're going to have a look at the last 365 days in terms of how has he played for Leverkusen and Villa, because I think he played 12 games for Villa as well in that time. So the first thing I want to talk about, the first thing that's a bit of a standout for Buendia against a lot of other number 10s, is his work rate. And not in terms of the running statistics or anything like that, but his ability to get back and his ability to help out with the defensive side of things as well. Because I think it's an underrated skill to have somebody help out. And especially in the Premier League, you're going to need your players to come and help out at the back. So when we look at that, tackles per 93 puts him in the 99th percentile for attacking midfielders. So he's in the top 1% in Europe. Interceptions, 0.56, puts him in the 71st percentile. Blocks, 2.06, puts him in the 99th percentile again. And aerials 0.94. For his height of 5'8" and being an attacking midfielder, he's won 0.94 per 90, which puts him in the 80th percentile. Again, the top 20% there. So he's a very physically combative player for his height and does help out in those defensive phases as well, which I think is something that Daniel Farke will have loved about him and will still love about him for being in a Leeds system, especially in the Premier League, where you have to have all hands on deck to be able to defend against the likes of Mo Salah and now Florian Wirtz and players like that. So in terms of his passing statistics then, there are some signs that he is still playing those forward balls that you like to see from that number 10 role, even though some of his other areas have kind of dropped off a little bit. Progressive passes, 5.25 per 90, puts him in the 78th percentile. So yeah, he's still getting the ball forward. He's still trying to get the ball forward. With the pass completion rate of 78.5%, puts him in the 65th percentile. So yeah, it's above average, but it's not terrible. And I think it's because he's taking risks with those forward balls, which is more likely to give them away. But you have to take those risks. If you're going to be an attacking midfielder, you have to take those risks to try and get the ball forward into positions where you can score goals. Passes attempted per 90, 52.31, puts him in the 90th percentile. So he's seeing a lot of action on the ball, and I think that's important to note as well. He is somebody who will be pivotal to keeping the ball moving, and a lot of the time with Leeds, we've had Tanaka and Ampadu and Rothwell and those players who've been in that midfield, the holding midfield roles, be the ones to be the metronome to keep things going. If you've got somebody like Emiliano Buendia who's always showing for the ball, always wanting the ball to feet and being able to turn and play it into good areas, that can massively, massively help you out and increase your output in terms of forward passes. So when we're talking about Emiliano Buendia, then we're talking about somebody who likes to drop in, likes to drop deep, pick up the ball, turn and run with it. In the last year, his progressive carries have been 1.88 per 90, which puts him in the 7th percentile, which is really, really low. Successful take-ons, 1.5 per 90, puts him in the 47th percentile, again, below average. So in the past, this has been a much higher statistic for him. In the past, when he was playing for Norwich, and even when he's been playing for Villa as well, he has been receiving the ball further up the pitch. He has been playing the passes and carrying the ball as well very, very well. Maybe there's not as much kind of tactical space for him to do that at Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso before he left. But Emiliano Buendia is certainly somebody who can turn those statistics around in the right direction, because we've seen before that he can be a very good ball carrier and a very good progressor of the ball, and he takes people on as well, which you will see in some of the clips later on in the video as well. So I do think it's important to note that whilst at the moment Buendia's statistics look like he isn't somebody who's going to carry the ball for you, he is if you give him the space, the opportunity and the tactical kind of preset to be able to do that. So I think that's important to note. When we talk about similar players to Emi Buendia, just to give you an idea of how those statistics line up for similar players, you're talking about some elite midfielders here. You're talking about Enzo Milot for Stuttgart, who's had a lot of interest from big European clubs. Facundo Buonanotte for Leicester City, Jude Bellingham for Real Madrid, Xavi Simons for RB Leipzig, Nicolas Paz for Como, who signed from Real Madrid, I think, and has been doing really, really well there. And Kaoru Matoma for Brighton as well, and Dominic Szoboszlai for Liverpool. So in the company of some really, really good players, because he does that defensive side of things so well and gets the ball forward and makes a lot of passes. And I think those other statistics, those other areas can be improved massively for Emi Buendia. So I think he's somebody who you have to look at as somebody who could really, really help and raise the level of quality in this Leeds United team. So let's have a little look at his clips then. The first one we're going to look at is from his Norwich days. And as we look at the clip here, you can see that he picks up the ball in a fairly deep position like we were talking about with the statistics. And when you look at the position he's drifted into there is nobody around him. Most players here would play the ball back to the centre-back or the right-back there in that position just highlighted there. But Emi Buendia is not the kind of person to do that in his most confident form, so he carries the ball past a player, takes him on and finds his way forward. Now even here when he has the ball, he looks up and there's a potential to play it forward into the front man or to play it to the fullback, but instead he plays it forward to Teemu Pukki. And then again here, a lot of players would play the ball out to the wing, then go and try and get in the box for the cross. But not Emi Buendia. He likes to try and open that pass up by using his body, playing the ball into Teemu Pukki, who puts it in the back of the net. So it's that ability to carry the ball, drive with it, find himself in good positions to start with to be even able to open up these opportunities and then go ahead and get that key pass to assist the goal. So I think very important to note that he can carry the ball. Second one, we'll have a look at his Villa days. The ball comes forward here to Watkins, who brings it down and gives it to John McGinn. This time, Buendia is playing on the wing, as you can see is highlighted there. There is a big gap there between two of the centre-backs. Usually you would see somebody like Buendia drift into that space and try to make a run through the defenders there, right where it's highlighted. But instead, he drops into the blind spot of the defender, I think it might be Tarkowski there, and opens up that space to be able to open the half space, which is where Daniel Farke wants a lot of his goals to come from. As you can see, now ahead of him is a massive open space for him to run into. Most defenders here would struggle to deal with that, as he just hooks it back and puts it in the back of the net. Again, a successful take on and a goal there. The final clip then, let's have a little look at, is the clever movement here for Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. This is in like the 90th minute of the game. You can see him highlighted there. He runs behind the defender to open up a bit of space for himself on the edge of the box. And as he does so, you can see that the player in front of him, the holding midfielder, doesn't even notice and is running back up the pitch again. Now you can see that he's actually almost in line with a lot of those players. So he thinks, okay, I'm just going to drop out to the edge of the box here and ask for the ball. Nobody on the opposition side switched on enough to do that. You can see in this position here, look how much space has opened up. That gap that we had before has now opened up even wider for him to just have a shot and put it in the back of the net. So again, shooting from distance as well. But he wouldn't even have been able to have that if he didn't have the clever movement to be able to do it in the first place. So I think it's massively important to note the type of player he is in 3 different situations for 3 different clubs could be very, very valuable to have for Leeds, because we have not had that in any of our players. So that is what I think of Emiliano Buendia. I think it's a no-brainer. I think we should go out and get him Premier League experience. I talk about it as a bit of a myth the other day on Twitter, as the whole Premier League experience thing. But I think it's important to note that whilst he's played for Norwich, Leverkusen and Villa, he's been able to pick up these positions. He's been able to show the type of player he is, even when not producing the most assists and goals. He's getting in the positions, he's making the movement, he's doing everything right. And I think with the combination of that and playing for Leeds under Daniel Farke with some better players than what he had at Norwich in the Premier League, I think it's a recipe for success. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for watching Leeds lately, and I'll see you in the next one.